With our investigation underway, I'm able to reveal some more detail of the events surrounding the attack. I'll not go into forensic detail, as that is the role of inquiries to come. However, there are some things that it's in the public interest to cover now. As I noted yesterday, there was nothing unusual about the subject's routine as he travelled by train to the supermarket in Lynn Mall. In fact, some of his actions yesterday suggested that he was planning for the future. He arrived at the supermarket about 2:27 p.m, and the surveillance team following him observed him take a shopping trolley and start shopping. He was shopping normally for about 10 minutes before the attack started. From a review of in-store CCTV footage, we are establishing a timeline of events. As I noted yesterday, it was about 60 seconds from the time our people became aware of a commotion to when they engaged the offender and shot him. However, CCTV footage has shown that the first stabbing occurred some 60 to 90 seconds before our teams heard shouts and saw people running. I want to explain the context to make it clear how this occurred. As I've said previously, long-term surveillance of a surveillance-conscious subject is very difficult. Surveillance teams must work hard not to be recognised, otherwise the surveillance becomes ineffective. We need to be clear, surveillance is different from a security detail. We have had no legal grounds to detain this subject. Monitoring his actions has been entirely dependent on the surveillance teams being able to maintain their cover as they have watched him over an extended period. These are highly trained specialists who follow international best practice for their tradecraft. They are very good at what they do. Over a period of time, the subject has demonstrated a high level of paranoia about surveillance activity. You'll also appreciate that supermarkets are not operating normally at present under level 4 lockdown conditions. Other people in proximity to the subject are much more conspicuous, and the risk of compromise is greatly increased. As a result, our surveillance staff were not able to move around the supermarket with the subject, although they remained close at the entrance, having observed him start shopping as he had done other times. To be clear, I remain of the view that our police staff acted exactly the way we would have expected them to in this situation, and with great bravery and professionalism. I particularly want to acknowledge the first aid provided by the attending staff and other responders who are well trained, and the members of the public who helped. I have no doubt the first aid rendered has made a very significant difference for the victims in this case. In addition to the attending STG members who are trained in advanced first aid, our other staff attending included a trained paramedic who played a key role in triaging the victims and initiating treatment. We were also helped by members of the public, at least one of whom had an advanced level of training. I want to particularly acknowledge the victims and their families. They will be going through great anguish as a result of this horrific situation, and we will do everything we can to support them. I also recognise that the staff at the supermarket, and indeed at all similar places, will be shocked that such an incident could play out in their workplace. We will provide the best visible presence we can around such locations over the coming period. I want to speak to the actions police now have underway to reassure the public. Firstly, I want to be clear that cases of this type are highly unusual. Whilst there are many people with concerning ideologies, very few of them reach the highest level of concern. And of those, it is this case that has caused us the greatest concern. We continue to pay a close eye on the environment, monitoring it for emerging risks. The terrorism threat level remains at medium. I want to acknowledge that events like this can bring out disturbing attitudes from a small proportion of people in our community. We'll be keeping an eye out for unlawful activity motivated by hate. We'll be conducting high visibility reassurance patrols around shopping centres and other places where people gather. I'd like to note that there's already much misinformation circulating about yesterday's events. I'd ask the public to exercise careful judgment about what they believe and the sources of information they select. It's an unfortunate reality that events like this lead to much inaccurate information and speculation being fed into the public domain, particularly online. Finally, I wish to make clear that this incident should not give rise to undue concern amongst the public. This case is an outlier, and we are not looking for anyone else in relation to yesterday's events.